Okay. Pardon my voice, everyone. I think I'm getting the COVID. I just tested negative, but that doesn't mean I don't have it. All right. So we have a quorum anyways. Let's see. Carlene, could you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please?
Sure. I pledge allegiance to the flag
To the flag
of
of the
the
United
United
States of America,
and to the
and to the
republic
republic
for which
it
it stands,
stands,
nation,
One nation.
nation under God, with
Under-
liberty,
indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
justice for all.
Okay. Okay, first items, approval of minutes. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
Krista Stacy, I'll second
Okay,
those.
motion made by Heather. All right. Yeah, and because it's completely a Zoom meeting, when you make any motion or second or speak, please give your name first. Thank you. Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Corrections? Okay, let's go through the vote then. I'll just read your names as I see them. Greg Perry,
Yes.
Christine DeStasio,
Yes,
Heather Fowler,
Yes,
Carlene Sharmless, John Iavino. Okay. Christina Milton,
Yes.
Kevin Satani.
Yes.
All right. Ella, if she's joined us, probably not. And I'm also a yes. Okay. Let's see. I just lost the agenda. Do we have
You have
another
two sets of motions for minutes, Mark.
all
So
right. So let's get a motion for the second set.
I make a motion to approve the meeting minutes for the December 20th, 23. Chris Milton.
Okay. Do I have a second?
Greg Perry.
Krista Stacy, I'll second that.
All right. We have a first and a second. Any discussion, corrections to that?
Mr. Chair, which one did the second go to, Greg or Christine?
We'll put Christine, all right? Greg might have gone in by a second, but Christine was a little louder, so we'll go with her.
My big mouth.
All right. Okay, let's we'll go in reverse order this time. Kevin,
Yes.
Christina,
Yes.
John, your volume's off. I don't see it. Okay, Carlene,
There, he's muted.
Yes for Carlene.
Heather, just indicate.
yes,
wave your hand.
no, my computer just went all confusing and I couldn't
Yeah,
find
yeah,
where
with
my unmute button went.
with the wind and everything tonight, it's gonna be a challenge. Okay, Christine
Yes,
and Greg,
Yes.
and I also am a yes. Okay,
I'm a yes.
so it is.
Now that I can see.
John, okay, we finally got you. Okay, so that's a unanimous 8-0. Okay, so now we come to report of the chair, and I'm going to take myself off the screen and because I've got it on another screen here. One moment. Okay. Good evening. Unfortunately, due to concerns of the weather, we're meeting on Zoom tonight. My main concern is the safety of our staff and the public, and it was felt that it's best to keep people off the roads tonight. Our meeting will still be conducted in full, including time for public comment. It's been a busy month with the holidays and several bouts of severe weather that resulted in widespread loss of power, flooded roads, and downed trees in many areas. Tonight is again one of those weather events. Please pay attention to school notices, as there may be delays or cancellation of school tomorrow. This has been an unusual winter season so far. Our deepest sympathies go out to one of our board members, Greg Perry, on the sudden and unexpected loss of his father. Funeral arrangements are still being finalized. May Greg and all of the Perry family find comfort in their time of grief. The Reverend Perry will surely be missed by many in our community. He was an exemplary man of faith and service. Today also is Law Enforcement Appreciation Day. Please remember all those who protect and serve our community, especially our SROs, who have become a vital source of mentoring and keep our students and staff safe during the day and at special events. It was my pleasure to participate in the NFA Career Day on December 7th. Over 140 adults spoke to ninth graders about their jobs, with over 100 being NFA alumni. It's never too early to prepare for the requirements of the working world. Norwich Public Schools has 2 in-person events this week. On December 10th, an introduction to pre-K at Huntington School at 6 p.m. And on December 11th, you may visit Teachers Memorial Middle School from 4 to 5 for future 6th to 8th graders. Also, please pay attention to special events at your schools as winter concert season is upon us. Many of the schools are having concerts in February and March. I encourage everyone to attend, as this is the time that our students showcase their extraordinary talent. And that concludes my report. Okay, now we come to the report of the superintendent.
Good evening, everyone. Okay, can everybody hear me?
Yes.
I'm gonna start with the recognition awards this week. This month, we were supposed to have everything in person. So we're still gonna have in the following month, the student and the award recipients will be at the February meeting so that we can give that to them in person, but I'll read everything today in case they are on now. So the key is me, teacher award recipient, Carmen Pagan, bilingual teacher at Moriarty School. Mrs. Pagan champions all our students here at the Moriarty School. She's the teacher who understands that there is no such thing as an off-duty teacher. She cares about her students no matter who they are or where they come from. She welcomes them and makes Moriarty a safe haven where they can feel accepted, respected, and celebrated. She connects with family and makes sure they have resources they need in order to support their children. Mrs. Pagan is a team player. She supports and encourages her co-teachers every day. She once told me to keep planting the seeds, and we will work collaboratively. She always reminds me of the power of teamwork. I personally love to work with a teacher like Mrs. Pagan, who uplifts not only her students, but everybody in the school community. She is dedicated, constantly reviews her methods, and is not afraid to keep up to date with effective pedagogy. Norwich Public Schools is lucky to have her. Congratulations, Mrs. Pagan. The next award is I Make a Difference Support Staff Award recipient goes to Natalie Roshley, academic specialist at the central office. Natalie is a very important part of our district as a supportive staff member. She's been a key player in many important projects for our schools and community. Not only does she maintain good relationships with others, but also makes sure that everyone receives quality service. Her high standards ensure the highest quality outcomes in anything she works on. She works collaboratively behind the scenes on most family events and community outreach. She takes the time to work on details to make sure they represent us well and meet the needs of our district. Natalie is a valuable member of our team. What sets Natalie apart is her dedication to fostering relationships and partnerships with community vendors. Through her efforts, Natalie manages to build bridges between our educational community and the wider Norwich community, thus creating a more inclusive, supportive, and harmonious environment for all involved. Congratulations, Natalie. And the last one is You Inspire Me Student Award recipient, Jose Ramos Soto. He is a student at Teachers Memorial Global Middle School in 8th grade. Jose is a lovable teddy bear. He comes to school every day ready to make you smile. He loves to talk to everybody he meets and always has kind things to say. He continues to amaze me with his kindness and helpfulness. Every morning, he helps a peer get off the bus and get ready for a successful day. He then walks into the building by his side and helps him get to his group of teachers who are waiting. It is a blessing to see each morning. Jose is a positive role model, supportive classmate, and always goes above and beyond without being asked. He will stay after class to help teachers straighten up their classrooms. He will even pick up outside in the playground area after his break. I often catch Jose in the hallways, helping to push another peer in a wheelchair and conversing with him, even though he is nonverbal. He is just so kind to everyone he meets. Jose has a lot of his own challenges each day, but he's always putting others first. He makes everyone around him smile. He is helping to bridge the social gaps between general education peers and those in special programs. I always feel lucky to run into him in the halls or at bus duty. Congratulations, Jose.
Wow.
Again, we'll make sure that we see at least 2, if not all of them at our next meeting so that we can give them their certificate in person. And we'll continue to do that throughout the year. I usually don't bring this up, but I do have COVID data just to show you that it's not correct. Because not everybody tells us when they have COVID or if they know they have COVID. So it's showing the latest week of 3. I can tell you that we have a lot of sickness out there with COVID, flu. We have bronchitis going around and pneumonia. And you'll notice on the report from the equity director, Sarah Dusso, our chronic absenteeism has gone up. It usually does spike up in December around this time, but we definitely have a spike. But I can tell you that we have a lot of staff out and we have a lot of students that are out. There's also a stomach bug going around. So just keep that in mind when you look at the chronic numbers right now. We'll continue to work on our chronic absenteeism. Vacancies for the year. There are 6. We have an opening for math at Global Middle School. Also at Global Middle School, we have TESOL. At Huntington, we have a grade 5 opening. Library at Stanton School. Uncas grade 5, and art opening that's shared between Wequonic and Betts. So not too bad. I want to recognize, well, again, in person with her family. Next month, we have a new school principal at Wequonic. I want to thank everyone on the board and admin that helped with this search. We found the right person. Kim is on here, Kim Byzensky, who was the assistant principal. She's waving and smiling. She's the assistant principal over at Global, and she is now the principal at Wequonic. So we're super happy that she's there. Kim, congratulations. It definitely was, to me, a search that included a lot of members at Wequonic and within central office. So thank you so much for everybody that helped with that. And again, congratulations, Kim. I want to keep everyone updated on preschool. So we have been working, as you know, with some challenges around preschool, the opening of the year. Jamie and I continue to meet with Corey, and I know I'm going to drive Corey crazy when I keep saying this, but I'm so grateful to have Corey on our team. I truly mean that. She's been amazing since she stepped in. She's had a lot of work to do, and we'll continue to meet. We have also Lisa that also meets when needed for special education. And so we have it on the calendar where we meet every week. Sometimes we meet twice a week. I get to go out and see Corey, typically at Huntington, where her office is. But I'd like to keep updating the board because I know that community members are sometimes asking board members, and they call central office to ask about the status of preschool. So at this point, at this time, I'm going to have Corey Beckwith give us an update about the classes. We did do some updates to what the Board of Ed previously had for how many slots were open. It is not correct, the one that you have been given in the past, and we have updated it, and I am now going to give it to Corey. And I think, Corey, you're going to be able to, can you share on the screen?
I still have a little more work to do on that table. I can share, but I can give a verbal report on all of the other pieces that we're doing. So we have been able to update a spreadsheet. And when I say spreadsheet, this is a monstrous, interconnected, multi-sheet document that incorporates preschool administration, the business office, transportation, medical, and it's feeding into each other so that we can keep an accurate running count of the slots that are filled in our preschool right now. And we can tag it according to whether or not the students have an IEP or don't have an IEP, what their closest school is versus the pre-K school that they're going to, because we're really trying to be thoughtful about how we place students, the classrooms that we place them in, and then planning ahead so that we can reduce transitions in as many cases as possible so that maybe students can stay in their home school from pre-K when they transition into K. That doesn't always work out, but if we can make it work out, we're trying to be thoughtful around the things that are important to families and helpful to children as they navigate that entryway into school. So we have all of the school readiness slots accounted for and calculated. We have all of the Smart Start grants calculated and accounted for. We're still working on the Board of Ed funded slots. So that will be the next thing that I'll have for you next month, is to show you one table that includes all of those funding streams and the number of students marked to each of those funding streams in our spreadsheet. So I'll have accurate numbers for you. But we've really been working a lot on the operations and the infrastructure of pre-K, as I've mentioned to you before. And we're just getting to the tipping point where we're able to focus a lot more on teaching and learning, because some of the operations and the infrastructure is becoming systematized, which is helpful because then it operates itself and we can focus on the things that are important, which are the teaching and learning that's going on in the classroom. So we had a very successful move. We moved 2 classrooms from Moriarty to Huntington. That happened over the break. That was a huge team effort between technology, facilities, the teachers, the paras. Everyone came in. It was food service, and they really made the transition pretty seamless. There's really only one glitch, and that was Parent Square and getting the students attached to the Parent Square of their new school. And really the only reason why it was a glitch is because it requires an overnight sync with PowerSchool. So once that happened, everything was pretty well underway. Transportation worked with us beautifully, and we were able to get all the students to their new schools without too much trouble. We are working on getting Care for Kids back as a subsidy for families who are in a slot that requires a tuition payment. We mentioned to you last month that there were hardships financially for families to afford some of those costs related to tuition. And by getting Care for Kids back, we're able to subsidize the cost associated with our tuition-based slots in our pre-K. So that's great. That's going to require some extra training on our staff with health and safety, and that's just a requirement of Care for Kids. So that will be happening over the course of the next 2 months, I would say. We are marketing and rebranding some of the aesthetics with the materials that we have for pre-K, making them more visually appealing, and then backing that up with revised information in the parent handbook and the staff handbook. So that's coming out too. We have made a request to the School Readiness Council to consider adding a 5th classroom to Huntington. We do have the space available at Huntington, and it would allow us to take 34 school readiness slots from Moriarty and house them at Huntington, which would again be a better situation for the students to have the classrooms that will work the best for them, and then we'll have a large majority of our classrooms in one place. So that will require approval by the council and then approval by the Office of Early Childhood, and that will be coming up soon. Our NAEYC accreditation is underway. We'll start to have some observations, and we'll start to go through our observation tool and make sure that all 4 of our locations are accredited. We did have accreditation last year, but with the change in location, we have to reaccredit our program. So that is happening now. And then we'll be meeting with Commissioner Beth Bai of the Office of Early Childhood, just to make sure that we're all on the same page and working together to make sure that our preschool program is meeting all the standards of the Office of Early Childhood. And I think they'll be satisfied with some of the work that we've done. And again, all of the teachers, related service providers, everyone involved has really high quality instruction for students, and it just needed a little bit of coordination to pull some of these things together to highlight all of the things that they're doing. And we are going to have a meet and greet, hopefully, fingers crossed, tomorrow night, which will include Head Start, it will include Family Resource Center, it will include Parents with a Purpose, and we'll talk a little bit about the preschool program. We'll talk about purposeful play. It's one of our priorities. We'll talk about some of our curricular priorities, and we'll give families an opportunity to talk with the people who can help them most applying for Care for Kids and some of the other resources that are available to them. And then as we shift away from the operations and infrastructure, we'll go toward the teaching and learning. We've already started highlighting the Tier 1 intervention with creative curriculum, which is a program that our district bought into a couple of years ago. And we have a strong subscription with a lot of resource embedded for the next 2 years till 2026. So we'll refocus on that Tier 1 instruction. And we are going to get in line with collecting some data. So there are some hallmark skills that we look for, even as young as 3 years old, that can help guide us with giving students the education that'll be most meaningful to them, and also highlighting any concerns that might be emerging for our young learners. So we'll be collecting some baseline data and getting back to data teams to review all the student instruction and outcomes, and then linking that with our teacher evaluation system. And that's so hopefully the more this goes on, we'll be talking more about the teaching and learning and less about the systems and the infrastructure. Do you have any questions that I might be able to answer for you tonight?
Yes, Corey, have we thought about, or do we have sufficient space allotted in the new school building project? I know you said we're using 15 or 16 classrooms now. Will that be sufficient, or do we need more for the new school project, assuming that we have 4 pre-K classes in each of the new schools?
I'll need to join in on some more of those construction meetings. I did attend one. I think there's only been one since I started in Norwich, but I definitely need to dig in a little bit more to learn about the number of classrooms, the square footage, and then just some of the pieces that are important, like the play structures, and then some of the classroom components like sinks and bathrooms and things like that that make preschool run a little more efficiently.
All right, very good. Does anyone else have, any other board members have questions for Corey? No. Okay,
Okay. Thank you.
Thank
all
you.
right, thanks. I've seen that Ella's joined us also. Ella, what time did you join up with the Zoom? Are you there, Ella? Yeah, you're on mute, Ella.
Sorry, I'm on my phone with this. 5:43.
Okay. All right. Very good. Thank you for the record.
Thank you, Corey, for that update for preschool. I do want to just give a shout out to all the pre-K staff. They've been amazing. This has been a heavy lift, having to move from their home school at Bishop and be dispersed in different schools. So it's been a lot for them. And I just want to give a shout out to every single staff member that works with our preschool kids. I have been able to get in and see some of the pre-K classrooms. And they didn't miss a beat. They look great in those classrooms. And, a big shout out also to the principals for the ones that are new to the preschool. That's been different this year. And so I just really appreciate all the work that they put in to make this a successful year. The next thing I want to talk about is the food service. It's not on my report, but I wanted to just bring up that I do get calls from parents, and I make sure to take all those calls and emails. I appreciate everyone's feedback on that. Heather Fowler and I had the opportunity to go to Kelly Middle School to look at how everything's running in there. Heather and I had a fun time with the kids. We got to talk to them and ask them about the food. The day that we went, everything seemed to be running well. We had a nice conversation with Nazim, and I thought everything was running well. I think Heather would agree with me at Kelly that day. Our focus now is from getting some feedback is some of the elementary schools. It seems like they could be running out during the 5th grade, the later waves. So Heather and I will be getting into the schools to talk to the kids, talk to the staff, and see what's going on there, just to let the families know that we are checking into their concerns. So we appreciate all the feedback we get. My last item is just to please see the attached reports from Equity Director, Residency Officer, and Registration. And that concludes my report. Does anybody have any questions?
Yeah, Susan, on the food service, are they actually running out of food or just choices of food?
It sounds like choices of food. So students, I'm getting feedback from some parents that they sign up for a certain item. And then by the time they get their lunch wave gets there, that item is no longer available. So just doing some questioning of some schools right now to see if lunch counts are happening. And then, of course, we'll check in with food services and give them a chance to respond to it. We have some nice conversations with myself and Bob and some upper management, and we'll continue to do that as much as needed to make sure that it's successful.
All right. So if there's students on a particular dietary restriction, they're not getting that food that was set aside for them or supposedly is set aside for them.
I think that was fixed last month. I haven't had any concerns about that. That was addressed since September, and it seems to have checked in with Laura Dietrich, and that seems to be okay right now.
All right, very good. Any other questions for acting superintendent? Seeing none, let's go on to the report of the assistant superintendent, acting assistant superintendent, Jamie Bender. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Hope you're all doing well out there. So I know that you received my reports. Just to keep you informed about other happenings in the department. It is a very busy department, and Susan touched upon how often we meet with pre-K because it has been an absolute priority for us, as it has been for the board, and as you heard all about all the great things that are happening, and looking forward to that continued work with both Corey and Susan and Lisa. Been doing a lot of work with our curriculum coordinator, Ashley, and as we really begin to look at some of the goals that we have, both, what we're going to do next week and then what we want to do over the summer and then moving on to next year. There's a lot of work to be done in this department in terms of every curricular aspect. And I'm feeling really good about Ashley's collaboration, as well as the coordinators of the different departments that have been really forging ahead with the information and resources that they have, albeit that we know that we need to make improvements in each of those areas. We will start really planning on, forging the plan to do some curricular revisions. We know that there's some work to be done there. And I'm looking forward to that, as we move through the rest of this school year. We are currently planning an after-school tutoring program as a result of some grant funding that was not used last summer. So we're putting that to use with teachers. We had a lot of teachers that have that expressed interest in wanting to be an after-school tutor, and that is phenomenal. There's nothing better than having the students' teachers really be there for their after-school component when they know where exactly the kids need to work on to move the needle. So that's going to be beginning in a couple of weeks, a few times a week.
I'm sorry, Jamie, what grade levels is that going to be instrumented?
All. It's actually going to be all. In the past,
Awesome. That's wonderful.
in the past it had been limited,
Wonderful.
but we are opening it up to all grade levels. And so that's really going to be focusing on reading and math.
Excellent.
We recently resubmitted a revision to the Right to Read grant, which is a grant for, it started out as 111,000 and then they increased it another 111,000. And we are going to be purchasing some assessment materials for the next 3 years, that assessment materials that have been approved by the State Department of Education, because that is definitely something that we have to keep in mind when we're spending dollars on curriculum. And we have the MLL department that is getting ready to push off on their annual last links assessments. And then we've had some really great meetings with Sarah Dusso and the equity department. I really appreciate that there's a commitment to refresh the subcommittees that were established previously and to continue that work, as well as increase the frequency in which the committees meeting, as we know that that's an important initiative. Another grant that came our way was on behalf of Darrell Wilson and the Norwich Public Schools Education Foundation. That came our way this week. We learned that we got funding for some after-school initiatives for the middle school. So that grant is focusing on some science, some STEM activities after school, as well as some instrumental music, as well as through Lou Allen establishing a broadcasting, streaming type of initiative for the students for our basketball game. So that's exciting. I know that the kids will really enjoy that component and be part of the school community around athletics. I think that's great. I also included some data. Charlene, you asked for some data last month. So I had Mike Garber put together some information for you. It's, right now we have pretty much fall data. Winter data is coming out, will come out towards the end of the month. So I can kind of walk you through it really quickly. And then, I'll see if you want me to share my screen. Is that how you'd like me to do that? Okay. Let's see. Okay. Can y'all see that okay? Great.
Yes, that's good.
Okay. So the first part is really our iReady overall relative placement when they took in the fall. And the one thing about iReady data in the fall that I want you to understand is that usually, we want to see green, right? Those bars that show, you're on grade level or above grade level. And then you have that middle area in the yellow. Well, in the beginning of the year, students that are falling in that yellow band are actually performing where we want them to be in the beginning of the year. So as we move through, you can see that, we have a good amount of kids that are kind of right where they're supposed to be right now. Later on in the year, when we take a look at later data, we're going to want to see that move. That, yellow is okay when you first start that grade, but then we expect that, you're going to move through and show improvement in your academic areas. So this is where we are for reading, and it's organized by school here. This is going to be our math placement. And then this is district-wide, and then this is relative placement by school. So iReady is one tool that we use to keep track of student progress, which we've had for a while. A second assessment tool that we use is Dibbles, and this is also approved by the State Department to collect data on our reading areas. You can see that the different areas are really grade specific. So some of these things you're only going to see in the earlier grades, like letter naming. And then others are, as we move through, you're going to see we're still K1. We want to know if we can identify a particular sound of a segment. And then word reading fluency, we are starting to move up to grade 3. As we move through, we're now still grade 3 nonsense word fluency. We just want to know that the students know the correct sounds of the letters. But then we eventually move to the actual nonsense word where they're putting those sounds together. Oral reading fluency is something that we do throughout the grades. And it is a pretty strong indicator of being able to demonstrate solid comprehension. More oral reading fluency for accuracy. A little less blue in this one. And then the maze is you're given a sentence or a passage, and you have to find that missing word for measure of comprehension. And then we have math unit assessments. We finished up the first unit in the fall. We are gearing up for that second unit assessment, which I'll give to you when we have those outcomes. And you'll see that we have some work to do in the district in the math area. %, of the different schools, we're hovering right there. We have some that are I'm trying to move my people over here. There we go. We have Moriarty that's in the green, and Mahan that's in the green. But still Stanton and Uncas, which are pretty needy schools, are just a slightly below that green mark. So we also identified, so that you understood what these modules about. It's important that it's basically, adding and subtracting, and that's where we're at for some of these indicators for grade 1. Grade 2, we're really focusing on place value, counting, and comparison of numbers. Grade 3, multiplication, division, and solving problems within units of 2 and 5 and 10. Place value as we are in grade 3. Problem solving. Problem solving is part of all of our units. And then place value, rounding, and other algorithms for adding and subtracting. Unit conversions, metric measurement. And then grade 5, place value, decimals, fractions. This has been something that's been a challenge for as long as I've been a teacher. But still knowing that we have a lot of work to do there. And again, decimals and fractions. Then we're on to the middle school. So interestingly, we are struggling with, fractions, but yet, when we're talking about ratios later on in 6th grade, it's the progress is a little bit more elevated.
Better.
Yeah. And then division of fractions, other arithmetic operations, ratios and proportional relationships, and rational numbers, integer exponents and scientific notation, and the concept of congruence, geometry. Just unshare my screen.
No, I just want to say thank you for sharing that and walking us through it. I think it was important that we keeping track in terms of like what's happening with our students. So when you have an update to that,
Yeah,
we can do another.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's you can see that we have a lot of work to do, and that starts with my department at the top, with looking at what do we have for our curricular base, and we know that we pretty much primarily use Eureka, but that's not the only thing that causes students high performance or the opposite. So we really have to do some root cause analysis of how we can help kids get to perform as best as they can. And we know that we're going to have those gaps from time to time, especially with what happened over the last couple of years. But we can get there if we're all on the same page and we all have the same goal, and if we believe our kids can. And that's really what it comes down to. We have to believe that they can. Yeah. Are they going to struggle with fractions? Absolutely. We have to believe that they can do it. And so, that's the work that we have in our department.
John, you had a question?
I do. Again, thank you for that data. And we all recognize fall testing is a result of students having the summer off and lots of information. We realize that. Question on the format of the after-school tutoring program. I think it's terrific that you have a number of, I'm not surprised at all, that you have a number of teachers that are interested in tutoring after school. Has that program been set up? You mentioned all grades. I just curious as to how it's going to function, how it's going to work, et cetera, I guess.
Sure. So the first step was, looking at our funds, how much funds we how much we could cover for the program, and that so say we had like 38 teachers, right? We knew that we were able to cover that with 4 days a week, but then we kind of shaved it down to 3, and we're able to have 50. So first it was securing teachers to want to do the after-school tutoring. Asking them what their expertise is. You know, you have some teachers that are really rock stars with math and ELA. Some didn't matter. They're like, I can do both. We had some that wanted to do a particular grade level, but most said, I'll do whatever grade level. So we kind of looked at what they were doing now, and we're letting them tell us what they really wanted to do, because we know that when they buy into a program and they want to do it, that's better for the kids. So first it was identifying teachers, and then it's at the school level, the principal and the data teams and the school leadership determining, you know, from student data, who would best be identified for being involved in the tutoring program. And then from there, invitations go out to the families that have, it's electronic, and parents are able to kind of register right from the flyer that goes to them electronically. And then the groups get formed. You know, we want to keep them low, you know, 5 to 10, no more than that. And usually it's like 5 to 8 kids in the session. And then that will go for about 7 weeks. You know, all the while collecting data through iReady and other intervention resources that we know are evidence-based and are good for kids. So after that 7 weeks, and we're looking at the data, the school team decides whether or not those kids will continue, or other kids would join in for another 7 weeks. So I tried to look for the data from last year's session. I got a lot of, you know, I think it fell at the individual teacher level. So the individual teachers who did it last year, they're the ones that hold the data, and I want to bring it back so that I can review what they have. Because at this point I have like lesson completion and, you know, that kind of thing. I want, like, where do we go? You know, where do we start? And where do we go academically? So that's how, did I answer your question, John?
It does, yes. And you know, part of my concern is to identify the proper students that can take advantage of the after-school tutoring.
Right.
And I look at that large yellow group, and sometimes that middle group, we can make significant strides.
Yep.
I don't have to tell you, so you already know this, I'm just preaching. And then the ones that really have the chronic absenteeism and a lot of other issues, we need a lot more than just after-school tutoring. But to really make a difference with that middle group that come to school and they're that close, that's a good group to look at. Just throwing that to you.
And I think that,
you don't already know that, I'm sorry, but you know.
Yeah, that's been the test of time, through the test of time, where we identify the right students, and you know, we've done some really great work in Norwich around that.
Thank you.
What did you have a time frame each day? How many hours is it? 3 days a week, did you say?
Yep, they leave at the same time as the late buses for the other extended learning. So we're, you know, making sure that we're using our resources.
Jamie, I just want to add that some of the stuff that when we meet and we talk about data, we realize that if you guys dive into that data that Jamie just shared with you, you'll notice that we have some schools where they're doing really well in a specific grade level and a specific unit. We have to work together to find out, hey, what are you doing over at this school that you're getting such great results? And that's one of the reasons that, you know, we're meeting a lot with Ashley Icorn, and she's getting in the buildings and she's being able to see and talk to our administrators and teachers about that. So we'll continue to look at that data. And the other thing I wanted to mention, Jamie, was that that's the fall. We do the fall, winter, and spring. We just started our winter. That's just started this week. And so we hope to have, Jamie will share some new data with you hopefully next month.
Yeah, Christine,
Jamie,
go ahead.
I just had a question regarding adjustments to the student schedules during the day so that they are spending more time with reading and math. Is there anything that can be done in that area?
Well, I think that the instructional minutes are there, and they're pretty robust. Okay. Yes. And those are non-negotiable, you know, so we even our students that are identified or you know, our high needs, they are in those classes receiving that tier 1 instruction. And then on top of that, we have a what I need now block, where, there, again, students that need interventions are given what they need. So, we have lots to analyze.
Yeah.
And
People have to be on task and.
yeah,
Grindstone. Yeah.
yeah, and I think we have a dedicated teaching workforce, absolutely. And everyone wants our students to do well. We just have to get a global view as to what we have and what we want to move forward. And I think we've really resurrected the curriculum council that has a large amount of staff participants. And we know that there's work to be done there, and establishing teams, that's kind of our next step, establishing district-wide teams to help lift this work, because they are experts too. And I think that, we will make improvements so that our students have the best opportunity that they can, but we know that there's work to be done.
Chris Milton, did you have further questions or?
No, I
No.
got that. I think the dibbles too, I'm sure you're getting ready to do dibbles again
Yep.
mid-year, and that gives much, I mean, the iReady is like on computer, but I really do think the dibbles data, I know
Right.
using that as a teacher is a big push, so.
Yep.
Really
Right.
fine tune on some of those skills.
Does anyone have any further questions for Jamie? I know this is very dense data. It's going to take maybe a couple of weeks for us to digest and sit down with the charts and the graphs and try and figure out. I mean, you can obviously see some of the schools are performing better in certain of the grade levels. So I think that's the area where we have to say, hey, you folks are doing great. Let's institute your program district wide.
Right.
All right.
And as if you review data and have questions for me, just let me know.
All right.
Thank you, Jamie.
Do you have anything further, Jamie? That's it?
That's it. I mean, I
Okay.
could read some more reports, but if give a full agenda.
No. Okay. So now we go on to the report from the Director of Student Services, Lisa Hughes.
Good evening. I have fed my dog about 100 biscuits. We're hoping that it works out this evening virtually. But good evening, everyone. I'm happy to be here to report out for Student Services. And you'll notice in my report that I do have, as I typically do, the monthly out-of-district placement report for your review. We do hover around and within the range of the 120. Right now we have 127 out of district placements. We do anticipate some movement in that number, and I hope to report that next month with some changes on the horizon. I also wanted to bring to your attention the fiscal impact for age 22 regulations. You may recall in 21, the General Assembly had required boards of education to provide special education and related services for qualifying students until they reach the age of 22 rather than what it was, which was 21. Now that has gone a little bit further in requiring the board to provide special education to the end of the school year in which the student turns and reaches age 22. So I do have a table of placements. They're student specific and would be identifiable if I listed the school. But you can see the fiscal impact to the district for that requirement for our students. It impacts 6 of our students. And it is provided there for your review to take a look at. We are hopeful to, offset that by some other pieces in the budget. And that will be, again, something that we can talk some more about as we get ready for budget season. But that is something that is one of those mandates that's not funded and that we need to absorb. So
yeah, and that's quite a hit, Lisa. That's what, 460,000 plus.
Yes, yes. So it's significant. And I wanted to break it down for you so that you would have that information as we start, formulating budget and talking about those big ticket items and things that, were coming down the pike, but are here. So anyway, that's certainly something to consider for budget season. I also wanted to highlight our special programs. With Corey discussing our preschool, which I can't say enough about Corey and our preschool. It is really amazing to see how quickly the students acclimated, as if they have been in that school, at Huntington the entire year. Things were on the walls, students were learning. It was pretty cool, pretty amazing to see. In addition to that, I wanted to just kind of highlight some of the things that are going on in special programs related to the data that Susan and Jamie were discussing as well. Super important that our students with disabilities also have high quality curriculum that they're working on. And I just wanted to bring to your attention some of the things that are happening in our Strive program. So at Mahan, they're working with buddies in 4th grade. They're developing relationships and friendships and working on, at this point, they were sharing with me their resolutions for the new
For a
year.
second, Lisa, can
Yeah.
you just explain to everyone what our Strive program is? We're
Absolutely.
saying
Yes.
Stars and Strive and Team.
Yes, thank you for that. Our Strive program is a supported comprehensive program that services our students that have autism spectrum or on the autism spectrum and have autism. And so we have students across the district in our schools, our program that one of them is at Mahan. I'm going to highlight each of them. And they're working very hard on a variety of specific instruction related to their IEP needs, but also working on getting time in general education as appropriate, building relationships with peers. And also we've used, I've reported out in previous reports about our unique learning system. And so students are using that across our Strive classrooms. And this is one of the units of study. And I'm really pleased to report to you that students are gaining a lot of skills that are standards-based so that when they are ready to have additional time in general education, they are prepared with information and knowledge like other students in their classroom. So I think it really ties well into everything that we're doing right now in the district. So for example, Stanton has 2 of those Strive classrooms, and they were working on the unit of study in the unique learning system on the gift of giving. And they were working on current events through a program called News to You. They continue to work within the school community to build supports and assistance with, friendships and those kinds of things, collaborative play. We also have done in the classrooms specific to Strive, but also across the district in using communication systems, but you'll typically see our high-tech communication systems in our Strive classrooms. And we have approximately a little over 30 of the high-tech devices being used by students. And I provided a picture of what one looks like. And you'll see students in our schools working with their speech language pathologist or a paraprofessional, special educator, working on building their communication and their verbal skills by having something that is completely dedicated to them and is based on their needs and what is happening during their day. So that is called AAC, and that's augmentative and alternative communication. And we are using that in the district. Sometimes you'll see students using a picture board communication system, and this is more a talker or an iPad used for that type of skill. At Huntington, we have a new board certified behavior analyst who's working hard with the 2 classrooms, the 2 Strive classrooms at Huntington with the paraprofessionals, particularly in working on the kind of schedules that they have and support systems, and working with Mr. Marr, our principal, and Ms. Wakely, our special education supervisor, and related service providers to acclimate everyone in those classrooms. And our middle school programs, we have 2 Strive classrooms there, working very hard on a unit of study in motion. And I included an example of a newsletter that goes home to families to just highlight some of the things, the high quality curricula that they're using in our classrooms with our most vulnerable learners. So the hope is that, that all translates over time for our students, not only in building skills, but in being able to participate more with students who are not non-disabled. I also wanted to highlight the school health report, which sometimes I forget to do. And Laura Dietrich, our nursing supervisor, does a really wonderful job in putting this report together and working. We meet each week on various things. And as you can imagine, and was already mentioned by Superintendent Lassard, about the RSV, flu, all kinds of things right now. I'd like to give a shout out to our school nurses and our school nurse supervisor. I mean, they are working very, very hard, and they have a high rate of, visits. So I think that they're doing a really nice job. And of course, we have vaccines happening and all kinds of things necessary for participation in preschool and in school. So lots of things happening in the nurse's office, and that is also in my report for you to review, and I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Okay, any questions for Lisa? Yeah, go ahead, John.
Just one, Lisa.
Oops, I think
John, you just muted yourself.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
I'm sorry. Old dog, new tricks, doesn't work. Unified activities.
Yes.
Do we have after school unified? This is new unified activities for students to participate in?
Yes. So new this month, we have signups for unified sports at the middle school level. And we do have some funding for that for our first startup year. It's getting back on track. There was unified previously in the district and before the pandemic, of course, and we're just getting our unified back together again. And Mr. Allen is working, our athletic director is working with me, and we're working on getting signups for this month. We're hoping to start by the end of this month with a team for both Kelly and a combined team, depending on numbers right now. So that will be our first big unified event for middle school, but we do have a lot of other ideas. We have a committee, a unified sports committee, and we're hoping to increase unified activities and programs throughout the district. So I should say too that our Connecticut special education chairman, Mr. Hale, that we had met with, was discussing funding for districts like ours, in addition to what they offered us, which was the first year $4,000. And so we're hopeful that, the more we meet to discuss and get the interest going, that we will have some more buy-in for a variety of different activities, like unified recess type activities or after school sports and intramurals at the elementary level as well. So
thank you. I think that's great. Elementary level, the unified social club concept is an easy way to start.
yes,
but you're on track. I love it. Thank you for that information.
You're welcome. And I will update you as soon as we have our team together and things are on track. So we are talking about some things that they had mentioned to us, like the trick shot, they call it trick shot challenge, and all kinds of really awesome things of how we can do that, even if it's just within our district. So
thank you.
More to follow on that, I hope.
Okay, yes, Christine.
Lisa, I just want to make sure I have a full understanding. So the Stride classrooms are comprised of all the kids are on the spectrum, right? That's what you're saying. And how many are in each of those classrooms approximately?
Sorry about that. I was on mute. So it depends. It's usually between 8 to 10 students, and those
Mhm.
students also have a paraprofessional that work with them, each of them. So it's a very a tight program. It's very well planned. It has a lot of specific components related to direct instruction for them. And our hope with implementing unique learning system was that it would be something that was consistent, just like the curriculum that Jamie is talking about, and those pieces too. If if we can work together and get our preschool and all the way through and all of our students in a high quality, consistent curriculum. But to answer your question, it does range between 8 to 10. There is a class that has 11, but we do work on, a lot of trying to get students, when they're ready, to work in their grade level curriculum, in their grade level classroom.
So do pretty much each student has a para assigned to them in those classrooms?
Yes,
right? That's what I thought.
currently, yep. That's
Yeah.
currently what we're
No.
doing, yep.
Yeah,
And-
no, I'm familiar then. My daughter's best friend has a classroom like that at Woodstock Elementary, so it's all coming back now.
Yes.
It's like she has a lot of great parents that support her, and that's what you need.
There are some amazing things happening in those classrooms, and I wanted to highlight them this month and thank the teachers and the paraprofessionals, related service providers, and the families. Everyone
Yeah,
that
it's a team, takes a team.
it
a
really
village,
does.
as we said.
It really
Thank
does.
you.
You're
Lisa,
welcome.
another thing too, to mention is that, so if you hear that there's 8 to 10 and maybe 11, but please know that many of our students are mainstreamed with their regular classrooms. So it's very rare that you would have 8, 9, 10 students in that Strive classroom. They're mostly, we mainstream them as much as possible. And I also want to add that I really appreciate all of your questions that the board has asked us. And please continue to ask us any questions. We do really appreciate the questions, whether it's here or it's after the meeting. We're always available. Thank you.
There's so much to learn. Like I said, it's my 5th year, and for new people coming in, I know some have an education background, but people don't realize, what we have in this city. It's amazing.
Yes, and really, in thinking about what Susan alluded to with the students, it is a balance of, in general education, but needing that level of support. Some of the communication devices I was mentioning, students in those classrooms are utilizing those, so they don't have language in the way that we're speaking, but they are certainly communicating in a different way, and they need assistance doing that. So there are a lot of high needs, but we work on getting students, what they need when they need it.
Absolutely.
All right.
Thank you again.
Any further questions? All right. Okay, so let's move on to the good news, bad news, good news guy, Robert Serpensky, our
Good
business
evening.
administrator.
Good evening
Yeah,
to
and please give it to us.
Well,
to us in that manner.
Okay, well,
we don't want to end on a
bad
bad
weather
news.
news is my lights have flickered once, but the good news is I have a whole house generator. So if I go dark, it's only going to be for 10 seconds.
All right.
We've completed 6 months of the operating year from a financial standpoint and 4 months of the academic year. So I'm able to do some forecasting on the 23-24 budget with a higher degree of reliability in certain areas. So what I looked at was 3 components, they're major components, total salaries, health insurance, and tuitions. It might only be 3 components, but it makes up 69% of our budget. So I'm going to talk about where we stand on those items. Now, the tuition component I'm talking about first, the budget is $26,840,000. That's all tuitions excluding the I believe Lisa said 170 outplacements, and that's another 10 or 11 million dollars on top of that. So we're just focusing on the designated high schools, the magnet schools, and NFA's specialty or SPED programs. Those three tuition areas consist of almost $27 million. The good news is we should end the year about $133,000 under budget. Now, those numbers are kind of like wet cement. The only numbers that could change somewhat are NFAs on there's $7.5 million of specialty tuitions. They adjust them in February based on enrollment that might either increase or decrease. So we could see a change there. On the designated high schools, it was interesting to note that Bacon Academy had actual students of 24 versus a budget of 40. So we did see what I'd consider a significant decrease there. The next big chunk, actually it's the largest chunk of the groups, was total salaries. On the board side, it's $29,900,000 in 5 or 6 different components. Right now, it looks like for all intensive purposes, we'll be at a break-even standpoint. It's showing my analysis that finished today about $8,000 over budget. The certified staff is the biggest piece, but it's also the easiest to forecast in a sense that it's salaried amounts. There's no hourly variations. So the only differences you're going to have going forward would be staff turnover or vacancies. So we're actually going to be just a little over $1.2 million under budget. However, offsetting that is going to be the certified substitute line item will be about $1.1 million over budget. So they kind of tend to net each other out. Overtime, I'm right now saying we're going to be equal to budget. That's all going to be dependent on winter storms. We've really only had the one big one this past Sunday, which was a double time situation. Non-certified salaries are looking to be about $56,000 under budget, but that subject to fluctuation because that's mostly there's a significant number of hourly people in there, the paraprofessionals, all the custodians. I think the paraprofessional budget is $3.9 million alone. And then health insurance budgeted a little over $5 million. Right now, we could be about $74,000 over budget. We've had the 2 big HSA drop payments. The people who select HSA as an option, we make the half of the deductible deposit into their accounts in September and the other half the first payroll in January. So this does reflect that. We seem to be averaging about a little over $410,000 a month for premium costs. So we have 11 more pay periods to deduct health insurance and collect that for. The other big piece that we will be very impactful on our budget outcome is special ed. Lisa already did mention the 22 age group dilemma. That legislation was passed after the budget was done and the session ended. So there was no way to even possibly think about incorporating that into the budget. We did submit, Lisa's department did submit the excess cost data for consideration for the excess cost reimbursement. And as you might recall, you've heard me talk about this a bazillion times. Our first reimbursement comes the end of February, and that's supposed to represent 75% of our reimbursement and get the other 25% in May. So at that point in time, that'll give us a much better handle on where we're going to stand from a special education standpoint. If you recall, last year in February, we learned that we were going to receive $550,000 less than we were entitled to by statute, simply because the state didn't allocate enough funds for special ed. Hopefully, the extra 25 million they allocated for the 23-24 budget will prevent that from happening again, but that could be very impactful. And we've been meeting, Lisa, Susan and Jamie and myself on the 24-25 budget. We're looking to balance Board of Ed expenses with all grant expenses. One thing that will help the 24-25 budget will be the new legislation that takes effect next year regarding magnet school tuitions. The schools cannot bill districts more than 58% of their set tuition rate. And that applies to the ASTE VOAG programs as well. So right now in this year's budget, we're spending just under $970,000. So for easy math, let's call that $1 million. So if they bill us at 58% and we had the same enrollment numbers, we'd be looking at $420,000 less in next year's budget just for that tuition segment. So that's going to be pretty helpful. One other item that's going to make looking at NFA specialty programs a little more difficult from a conceptual standpoint. Right now, they have 7 programs. Next year, they're doing an extensive restructuring. They've been working with Norwich Public Schools and all of the sending towns. They're going to 4 programs with different names and different tuition amounts. So we did have a meeting with NFA a couple weeks ago, and they gave us very detailed information. So we're in the process of analyzing that for budget dollar impact besides the impact on our students in terms of academics. Obviously, Susan and Jamie and Lisa are the ones who will make those determinations that from an academic standpoint, I'm just the finance money person. So that's my update on that. What I would ask for the for the budget subcommittee to maybe consider setting meeting dates for our 3 meetings. I would suggest the last week of January for the first one, from any day between the 29th and the 2nd of February, then between February 19th and the 23rd, and then March 4th to the 8th, because usually the Board of Ed votes on a budget at the March meeting. That way we'd be able to conclude over our business. So that is my numbers report. And I'll take any questions that anyone might have.
Yeah, go ahead, John.
Thank you. Just one question. Up above, you had mentioned transportation is over by 20% at this point in time. Is there a specific reason why it's 20% over this year compared to last year?
Yeah, we had a new contract, and transportation is a little over 9% of our budget.
Yes.
So it's a big number. It was a little over $8 million. So when we were doing the budget, we had estimated at a minimum a 5% increase, and other districts that were going out to bid were finding transportation costs increasing between 10 and 20%. So we had the previous contracts all billed our buses for 12 hours a day, whether we needed the buses or not.
Mm-hmm.
Norwich has a very high rate per bus per day compared to surrounding districts. There's a lot of reasons for that. I guess the type of bus we have and we have hard routes, but I really think it's a lack of competition. There's no area or depot for other bus companies to park buses. When I've talked to the vendors, they don't really bid on our contract. I mean, our rate is about $80 or more higher per day per bus than all surrounding districts. And even that's comparing first student to first student. So that's just the way it is. So anyway, we engaged a consultant to help us with the contract. We, instead of going with all 12-hour buses for a 12-hour rate for all 90 buses, we broke it into different blocks, 4-hour blocks, 5-hour blocks, 6-hour blocks, and then incremental times. So the rates came in obviously a lot lower for the 4 and 5-hour blocks, but we have to pay for things that normally might have been included in the 12-hour time block. It seems that's working very well on the special ed side, because the rate of increase compared to last year is much lower. The rates are just higher, and during the budget cutting process, we looked at reducing the budget based on assumptions. So this year's budget is actually slightly less than last year's budget. So had the budget not undergone the cuts that it did from a global standpoint, the budget would have been a lot higher, and this comparison over budget and last year wouldn't be quite as large. So we're looking at doing that detailed analysis to try and isolate. Are we using more monitors on the buses? Did we have to add extra routes and things like that?
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Any further questions for Bob? All right.
Hold on,
Let-
Mark. Sorry,
Yep.
Mark. Just a quick one. I know because with the changing in the preschools, Bob, we probably had to add some additional routes too, right?
It might not have been, it could have been a restructuring. So I'll have to work with Maria on those.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, and I know on the transportation side, this year in the calendar, NFA was operating a few days where NPS was closed. So I think we're coordinating the calendars a little tighter so that we're not going to be operating buses on days when NPS is not going to be using the
Well,
buses.
from a transportation issue as a whole, that's problem. High rates is facing a lot of districts. Driver shortages, the cost increase of buying new buses and the length of time to get them replaced, and cost of repairs has driven up the contracts quite a bit. I mean, I'm going to look at comparisons. Some districts are paying over $500 a day at per bus in different parts of the state. So it's kind of all over the map right now. The ones who are in the tail end of a 5-year contract are still okay. It's when you have had to go to a new contract within the last year is when you're paying a higher premium.
Right. Okay. All right. So that's it for the reports. Okay, we come into the public comment period. Amber, do we have anyone signed up for public comment?
I don't have anybody signed up saying in the chat that they want to, so you may just want to announce and see if we have anyone.
All right. And I know there was a comment. I think for next agenda set, we're going to try moving public comment a little earlier in the meeting, probably before the administrative reports, because today it seemed it took quite a long time. An hour and a half is quite a while for people to wait in order to participate in public comment. Okay. Is there anyone who wishes to speak at this time for public comment? If so, just unmute yourself and give your name. Is there anyone willing to talk for public comment?
Hello.
Yes.
Hi. So it's Jess Play. Do I need to do that? I need to do the address and all that.
All right. Yes. There's a brief statement I'd like to read for public comment first. Okay, Jess?
Go ahead.
Okay. The Norwich Board of Education values the public comment period as it represents an opportunity for members of the public to express their views to the board on matters within the board's authority. Procedurally, public comments will be limited to 3 minutes per person and up to 30 minutes per topic. Comments may be consolidated and given by a group spokesman. All comments must be directed to the board, not to any individual board member or individual member of the administration. The board and the administration will not respond to questions or engage in dialogue during the public comment period. The board and the administration will determine when and how to address questions that arise during the public comment period. Comments may be submitted via email or in writing at any time. Profanity, raised voices, boisterous conduct, and personal animosity will not be tolerated and may result in the suspension of that individual's speaking privilege. The chair reserves the right to limit public comment at any time so that the board's business may be conducted in a timely manner. Each speaker is asked to give their name and address for the record before starting their remarks. Okay, if you could, Jess, just give your name and record for the remark, for the public comment period. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Jess Quay, 321 Old Canterbury Turnpike in Norwich. Just wanted to hop on to say, or to give a kind of a blanket statement about the fact that I'm hoping that there's going to be some sort of update on the superintendent, past superintendent, to see how the investigation has gone, see what the further decisions are. I know that Miss Lassard's contract was extended at the end of December, which to me is positive news for the whole district, for our teachers, for everybody. But I would be interested to, see when this is going to wrap up and a final decision will be made. And I just, everybody's waiting, I think, on bated breath. And I know there's a lot to do and a lot of legwork involved in it, but I just, want to more so let you guys know I'm still thinking about it. Still thinking about it. So that's pretty much it. I want to commend Mrs. Lassard on how she has been running things. I had a concern about the lunches and she literally called me today, and I just think that is stand up, work. That's how this should be, being held or handled, I should say. So thank you to her for that conversation. And I think that's about it. This is I haven't had many problems this year, and I think that's pretty telling of the leadership that's in charge of this district right now. So hopefully only better things to come. And that's about it. Thank you, guys.
All right. Thank you for your comments. Yeah, if you notice in the agenda, we are going to be discussing this in executive session, the point that you brought up. So the board is very concerned also, and we want to get things, done correctly, but done also in a timely manner. Thank you. Is there anyone else for public comment? Is there anyone else who wishes to speak for public comment? Is there anyone else who wishes to speak for public comment? Okay, hearing none, I now declare public comment closed. Thank you. And let's see, next order of business. First reads on policies.
I think it's the calendar first, Mark.
Oh, the calendar. Okay, I'm sorry. Oh, the first read on the school calendar. Yeah, okay. Very good. Okay, do you want to present that, Susan?
Yes, please.
All right.
Okay, so if everyone can take a look at the calendar, we've been working on that. Jamie and I, we passed it through the admin union, the teachers union. They had to look at it. They like what they see. If you notice, I'll point out some things that we have changed for next year. One of the things is starting before Labor Day. I think right now I am getting a little nervous about if we have any more snow days on how much that's going to push us towards the end of June. Okay, thank you, Amber. Amber's sharing the screen now. So we're looking to go back to starting before Labor Day, like a lot of our surrounding districts. I want to say that I want to publicly thank Dr. Cannell, Nate over at NFA. We've been working in partnership. I think he's done an amazing job of being very transparent with us and working closely with us. We went off of his calendar to make some decisions. One of the decisions that we made is to start having school. If you notice on the 27th, it's now an early release day before Thanksgiving, which gives us another day. We also, NFA is running that day, just like other districts, and we're using our buses anyway, so it makes sense for us to have that day. We also, if you notice that above and beyond in the contract of the 6 professional development days, if you notice the 26th, the 27th, and the 28th are the first 3 PD days before school. And then we have November 5th as the 4th. We have the 5th PD, full PD day on February 8th. We then have the 6th PD day on March 7th. We know that our teachers deserve more planning time, and we're going to be deliberate about how we plan this with our staff and what their needs are. So we want to hear from them. We have 3 days, if you notice, on the 29th of October, it's an early release day. The 17th of January, we're proposing an early release day, and May 4th as an early release day. We know there's some districts like New London that have an early release day every Wednesday to afford their staff with professional development time. I think those are the main areas for your consideration when approving this. So I'm happy to hear your feedback or any questions.
Yeah, I think you misspoke before. You said February 8th was a PD day. I believe it's February 18th.
Oh, you're right. Yes, thanks, Mark.
Yeah, similar with May 4th, same thing. It's May 14th.
All right, thank you. Sorry
No
about that.
problem. No problem.
Okay, so this is a first read. Any comments on the calendar from the board right now?
I know, as a parent, my concern is always with the before Labor Day, because I personally think it's pointless to send a kid to school for 2 days when they're still in summer vacation mode and then have them off for an extended weekend. I'd rather them just start after Labor Day, but that's just me. I mean, my kids never make it before Labor Day. So in my house, we do it after Labor Day, but I just think it would be better if we started on the first day. They can jump right in, get into their program, get into their routine right away. Let's not give them that extended vacation, but force them to be at school for it. I don't know. That's my opinion.
Can I comment on that? As a teacher, I know from a parent side, we'd always have vacations and later in August, but I can say from like kids starting, pre-K or kindergarten, gives them like a 2-day, a 4-day, and then a 5-day. It kind of gradually, even for older kids, I find my district goes back even the week before this. I believe my first day with students will be the 21st, and 2 days of PD or the 22nd. I can't remember the date just yet, but we're a full week before that. So, and other districts are really following that. We follow EastCon, which is 2 weeks before, which I'm not sure where Learn's district is here in Norwich, but I will say that this is becoming more commonplace to go back even sooner before Labor Day. And like I said, it gives you that 2-day, 4-day, then you have a full 5. So that kind of works you in slowly like that. And I know some students, sometimes they don't come back. That's 2 days that they do, but I feel like the majority of kids will come back before Labor Day. I know a lot of times parents are ready for their students to get back into the routine too.
Chris, thank you for that. I also wanted, and thank you, Heather, for your comments. I appreciate that. We did look at the Learn calendar. I think that's been already out. If you look at that, and that really gives, if you look at it, that's what most of the schools in our surrounding towns go off of. But certainly we want to make sure that we're looking at schools like NFA and Griswold, who are our partner schools that, that we have similar calendars.
quick comment from this end is that I think the couple days before Labor Day can be wisely used to not jump into curriculum so quickly, but to take our time and use those 2 days to establish culture in the classroom, relationships with the teacher, relationship with students, that information or that setting will pay off great benefits along down the road. So just a comment on how we can utilize those days to make life a lot easier.
Yeah, and my thought is, especially for kids moving into middle school or high school transition, it takes that couple of days just for those students to learn the routine of, you know, where classrooms are located and how to properly change classes between periods and whatnot. So I think that just the mechanics of attending school, you know, that can be done, and then the curriculum, you know, as soon as after Labor Day, you can jump right into the curriculum with that preparation period already done. Okay, let's go. Next item is the discussion and possible action regarding the creation of a transportation committee. I know we had issues with transportation earlier in the year. Wondering what the board's thoughts are as far as establishing a transportation committee, whether it meets monthly or quarterly to get a report from the transportation coordinator and to be established to be a conduit in case there are any issues between the public and the administration.
So I am in full support of forming a transportation committee. I have gotten so many complaints about the way our the communication between the schools and the bus company have been going out to parents. Like I said before, my son all of a sudden couldn't get on the bus at his bus stop because now in 3rd grade he's not allowed to cross the street, but he's always been allowed. But it was never formally communicated to parents. There's just been a lot of miscommunication, and I think that setting up a transportation committee would be a great mediation so that we can make sure that all information is being communicated.
I'll agree with that concept, and I also think, I know that we have a transportation coordinator, but I think having a committee, since it's a pretty big nut in the budget, might pay dividends down the road to have different eyes and discussions about procedures and things that occur cost-wise. So I definitely am in favor of a transportation committee.
I also do, and I think having like where Corey commented on preschool earlier, having preschoolers more in their homes, so we're not transporting all over. I think that could look at, but some of those pieces I've noticed on my drives in, sometimes I'll see like 3 buses, not so much now, but I was seeing like multiple buses at a stop. Maybe a couple would get on to go to one school and another. So it just seemed like some of those could be like relayed maybe with that. So I do think it would benefit us, especially where he was saying it's 10% of our budget. I think that would be wise to look at that, and also help parents, especially preschool parents and kids just starting in the district. I've heard a lot of feedback of how they're not getting the information right away, and parents need that to be able to plan their time to get to work, etc. You know, so I would be in favor of that. I would just like to see if we could have any committees that don't always meet during the day. I'd like to be able to be on another committee, but like I you know, during the day I have a full, you know, I have a position that I have to take care of first. So evenings would work better if
Christine, go ahead.
I honestly don't think it's necessary to have a full committee because we did hire that transportation coordinator, and anytime there is a concern, it should be directed to her directly, because any issues that come up aren't going to be able to wait for a meeting. They're usually things that are urgent and have to be dealt with right away. So that's why I tend not to think that we need a committee because, you know, we hired her, what, last year, was it? You know, and I had one concern for a neighbor. I called her and it was handled. So it's just because, as I said, it's usually if issues do come up. I understand the budget part, but that's all, most of that is handled on the business end with Bob, and he informs us of the steps, you know, everything that's involved. So I just don't think it necessitates the formation of a committee.
I just had a
Carlene.
quick question in regards to, you know, what would be the objective of this transportation committee itself? Is it, you know, is its purpose to take care of like day-to-day operations, or to hold the transportation coordinator accountable, as well as the individuals who are working with them? So I just wanted to get a little bit more insight in terms of like what the role would be for this.
Yeah, just to probably address community problems with transportation, you know, plus the fact I would like to have a committee established, because over the next 2.5 years, we're going to be start to open new schools. So the fact, you know, to be involved in the planning stages, or I'm sure there'll be problems with coordination and whatnot. And for the board to be involved, to have a voice, and to be that conduit for the community to voice their concerns to us and into the coordinator. You know, sometimes people don't like to call an office, and they'd feel better talking to, you know, their local representative, us, the elected officials, and see what we can do about the problems. So that's my main concern, is in preparation of the fact that we're going to be revamping the entire district, you know, moving students around, and we may be moving students, hopefully not more than once, possibly twice, though, depending on the needs of the building schedule and safety, as far as students, moving them in or out of schools, so that construction can proceed as quickly as possible. That's my thoughts.
No, thank you so much for sharing that. And I think that does make sense, like us preparing for what's to come, and looking at best practices and working with a coordinator and identifying those, so that we have those in place. So I'll be you know, open to supporting having a transportation committee. And I think we will will need to work on logistics for individuals who do have obligations during the day, who may be interested in serving on this committee, as well as meeting frequencies and so forth. So thank you.
All right. Any further thoughts from the board? All right. Do we have?
Well, hold on, Mark.
Yeah, go ahead, Kevin.
Hi, everyone. Kevin Setani speaking. So I just wanted to say briefly, I am also open to having the transportation committee established under the Board of Education. One is a uniformed response to our stakeholders. So, you know, there was already mentioned that there were different answers to certain transportation situations. So by having the committee, an answer that is provided to the committee can be given uniformly to our you know, stakeholders out in the community, if any, you know, situation arises. Another is, of course, the accountability, and that's always important. And you know, Christine, I hear your point about, you know, that with having Maria as our transportation coordinator, and if there's any issues from the residents, that they could relay that to Maria. So I see your point, but I think having the committee just creates that solid foundation of making sure that the board, whoever is on the committee, is holding the coordinator accountable and making sure that the information relayed to the public is all uniformed. So I think that's the important thing for me about the establishment for this.
Well, I understand what you're saying, Kevin, and what everybody else is saying, but now I just want to know, like, Bob, is Maria, who does she fall under? Is she under Susan?
No, she reports to me.
That's what I thought. So
Yeah,
there's the chain of
she
command
works
right there.
nonstop on these issues and gets back to people immediately.
That's what I thought. So that's what I'm saying. So I'm just saying she has a boss, Bob. Bob hears everything. Staff addresses any immediate issues. As you know, when we've had buses pulled over or whatever, our staff responds like that, you know, from the main office, whoever's available. And I just think we're going to get overloaded on all this. I understand as we get closer to the school building that we will need to form some kind of subcommittee to assist with transportation with the new schools. But like I said, I'm just saying, you know, she is under Bob. Bob's her boss, and any other issues that come up, they're addressed. So that's all, but it sounds like you all want to have it, but like I said, I just don't think it's necessary at this time, because, or at least not meeting regularly, unless there's a special issue, which of course then we could always call a special meeting of the entire board. But, you know, but whatever form you want it to take, but I'm just saying, you know, we're gonna get overloaded on all these committees.
No, and I feel, and I understand that point, but we have had some severe concerns with students, especially of special needs students, being transported and switched off buses and this, that, and the other, that was not being reported, and it was not being handled immediately, as one would say. The parent got the runaround, and it wasn't until we got, you know, heard the right chain of command.
That's when we have to go to Bob.
I think that's more why we need someone who's going to make sure that those voices are heard and make sure our students are protected and safe at all times, because there was over an hour where this parent did not know where her nonverbal child was. That's a problem.
Well, that's what I mean. And that's where heads should have fallen. I mean, people should have been consulted with that. So, you know, that's where we're not supposed to get involved. We can push for it, but that's where it would have been Bob. So Bob would have had to handle the personnel issue. But, you know, and I hope that was taken care of. But it's just, I don't know. But like I said, I understand the concerns. But I really don't think it's a committee that has to be, you know, set in stone, meeting every month. But whatever.
And Christine,
Yeah,
I can agree to that. The meeting frequency will have to be determined at this time.
Yeah, I would say that the committee itself would determine its meeting schedule, you know, whoever is assigned to that committee, whether they need to meet, you know, once a year, twice a year, quarterly, monthly, every other week, you know. I know the busing problems are generally within the first month of school, you know, and then those problems generally go away. So, all right, it's not something that we have to vote on tonight, but you know, I did bring it up for consideration. If we want to go ahead and establish the committee, we can. I can entertain a motion now, or we can put this on the back burner and bring it up at another time. So whatever the board thinks at this time.
Well, I think it'd be a good idea for us all to sit on it and make and take action on it at the next meeting, so we all have some time to really think and listen to and process what everyone's point of view was just said. I think we'd be able to come up with our, you know,
Yeah, I you know, I didn't want to rush anything in, you know, unlike, you know, it seems like a lot of our decisions were rushed. You know, we need to vote on it immediately. Well, this is not one of those things that we have to vote on immediately. But I'm just putting it out there that, you know, noting that there have been problems in the past, and the fact that transportation is going to be a major factor in the future over the next, you know, hey, we're going to have to, two new schools are going to open in the fall of 26. You know, that's 2.5 years away. I mean, that comes quickly. So, all right. So, I think, we just have a motion to, deposit, table or, delay action on this.
I don't think we.
Well, it was just up for a first read, so.
Yeah, we could,
Discussion.
What's your thoughts, Greg? You're on mute.
I don't think we need a motion because there wasn't really an action item here. It was a possible action and discussion. So
Right.
it could come
All
up
right,
as
so-
action item next month if we'd like.
Yeah, so we
Correct.
can bring it up, you know, and we can amend the agenda at that time, you know, if people feel strongly about it. So, yeah, so this is something, give thoughts to it, and so that's where we are there. Okay, now we go into first reads on, do we have first reads? Where am I?
no, unfinished business, Mark.
Yeah,
Unfinished business. Okay, these are the action items for the policies that we've heard already. Okay. Item 6.1, approval of the updates, policy on non-discrimination. Could I have a motion in second, please?
First, Greg Perry, so moved.
John Iavino, second.
Okay, any discussion on this policy? Okay, let's go through the roll call vote. Ella? Ella, you there? All right, we'll come back to Ella. Kevin?
Kevin Seitane, I vote yes.
Carlene?
Yes.
Heather?
Yes.
John?
Yeah, yes.
Greg?
Yes.
Christina?
Yes.
Christine?
Christine DeStacio, yes.
Ella, if you're there, she may have frozen up, I don't know. Definitely yes for Mark. Okay, so that's 8-0. Ella did not respond. Okay, next item, 6.2, approval of updates to policy 4151.6 and 4252.6 on family and medical leave.
Kevin Seitane, motion to approve the updates to policy number 4151.6 -4252.6 family and medical leave.
Christine DeStacio, I'll second that.
Okay, any discussion on this? Hearing none. Okay, Christine. Voting in favor or not?
Yes, I'm sorry. Yes. Christine
Okay.
DeStacio, yes.
Okay, Christina.
Yes.
You prefer
Um,
Christina or just Chris?
Chris, yeah, I go by, that's my formal, yeah, Christina's like my first name. I go by Chris. I think in that last one, you said a vote of 8-0. I think it's 7-0. There's 7 of us voting because Ella, right?
Or no, there's 9 people on the
The
board,
board.
and Ella wasn't
One.
responding.
Oh,
Yeah.
and Kevin. Okay. 6, okay, all right, I'm good, I'm sorry, never mind.
All right. Greg,
Yes.
John,
Yes.
Heather,
Yes.
Christine,
Christine DeStacio, yes.
Carlene,
Yes.
did I say Kevin?
Kevin Saitani, I vote yes.
Okay, and Ella.
Yes.
Okay. So it's not, and I also vote yes, so it's 9-0. Next item, 6.3. Approval of updates, policy 4115, increasing educator diversity.
I make a motion to approve updates of policy 4115, increasing educator diversity plan.
Motion made by Chris Milton. Do I have a second?
I second that motion.
Okay, very good. Heather, second. Any discussion? All right, and let's go through. Ella,
Yes.
Kevin,
Kevin Saitani, I vote yes.
Carlene,
Yes.
Christine,
Yes.
Heather,
Yes.
John,
Yes.
Greg,
Yes.
and Chris.
Yes.
And I also vote yes, so it's 9-0 unanimous. 6.4. Update to policy 4112, non-discrimination on the personnel side. Could I have a motion, please?
John Iavino, I make a motion to approve the updates on policy 4112, non-discrimination personnel.
Arlene will
Uh,
second.
All right. Motion by John, second by Carlene. And we'll start with Chris this time. Chris,
Yes.
Greg,
Yes.
John,
Yes.
Heather,
Yes.
Christine,
Christine DeStacio, yes.
Carlene,
Yes.
Kevin,
Kevin Saitani, I vote yes.
and Ella.
Yes.
And Mark Kulis is also a yes, so that's 9-0. Motion passes. Next item, 6.5. I can arrow down to it.
Kevin Saitani, I will make the motion to approve the updates to policy number 4119, reports of the suspected abuse and neglect of children and reports of sexual assault of students by school employees.
Heather Fowler, I second that motion.
Okay, motion made by Kevin, seconded by Heather. And the vote of tonight, Ella,
Yes.
Kevin,
Kevin Saitani, I vote yes.
Carlene,
Yes.
Christine DeStacio,
Yes.
Heather,
Yes.
John,
Yes.
Greg,
Yes.
and Chris.
Yes.
And Mark Kulis also is a yes. Motion passes 9-0. Okay. Just to comment on policies, when we get policies in for first read with the agenda, if you could please read those as soon as you get the agenda and prep for any questions on first read. So it's much better on the policy and on the policy committee to make adjustments to any policies with a first read comments as opposed to saving them for second read, because at second read, it delays it another month, and because it has to go back to policy committee sometimes based on our comments. Okay, proceeding with the agenda, board reports. Budget committee, we haven't met yet. I don't know if we want to set up a calendar yet on that. Or do you prefer, I know we're supposed to have a board orientation meeting on the 25th, the training. And Greg, you mentioned you couldn't make it till 6:30.
Yes, I am doing something that day. Yeah, 6:30. I'll be good by then. I have a meeting at 4 in Waterford that I'll be done with before 6 o'clock.
All right. So if we want, let's change the time of that to 6:30. Does that meet everyone's expectations? And hopefully we'll get through it quickly, an hour and a half to 2 hours. And that's that would be an in-person training by someone from CABE. They'll come down and at the Kelly Community Room. So set that date and time aside.
That was the 25th again, Mark?
The 25th, which is a Thursday.
Thursday?
Yeah.
And as long as I'm not scheduled for work, I will be there.
Okay. Yeah, it's more important for the new members to get the orientation. We'll keep you informed, and any materials that are given out, we'll get to all current board members. So, okay.
Thank you for that.
All right, and then ad hoc doesn't meet until after we've done the budget negotiations. Nothing pending right now. Policy, any updates on policy, Kevin?
Nope, no update for the policy committee.
Okay. And the school building committee, we had a presentation on project labor agreements at the school building committee. Paid a couple of bills. And I believe this month's meeting, which is going to be on the 23rd, we're going to have a presentation on the anti side. Again, one of the building associations going to come in and talk about why we shouldn't have project labor agreements on this project. So, and then the school building committee will come to a decision and whether or not to institute those for the project, at least for the first two schools. Okay. Liaisons. John, anything on Otis Library?
Not at this time, no, thank you.
Okay. Greg, IDCS?
Nothing to report right now.
Okay. NFA, their first trustee meeting isn't until the 23rd, so I'll be attending that. And Learn, I think Greg, you had signed up for that. You're muted, Greg.
Yes, thank you. Sorry. Yes, I have not attended a meeting with them yet. So I don't have anything to report for Learn right now.
Okay, because I think their meeting is sometime during the day in Old Lyme. Is that correct? Or I don't know if they do Zoom connections.
Yeah, it's correct.
Okay. And what's the other? Oh, the foundation. Yeah, the foundation met last week, and we agreed to come up with a winter round of grants, $500 grants for and I believe the teachers have to put that in, I believe, by early February for requests for those classroom grants, and then we'll decide and distribute those before the end of February. Okay. Let's see, any additional reports? Does anyone have any additional reports? Any board reports they'd like to do a private comments? Okay, that brings us to the motion to enter executive session. John, if you could read the blurb.
If I had the blurb, I could read it.
Oh. It should be, all right. Does anyone have it in front of them? Yeah, Chris, go ahead.
Pursuant to Connecticut General Statute 1-200, members of the Board of Education move to go into executive session for a discussion of a confidential attorney-client privilege communication regarding steps for addressing personnel matters. The board may ask Board Attorney Peter Mayer to participate in some or all of the executive session discussion.
And could I have a second, please?
This is
Christine
Ella. I'll
I
DeStacio.
second that. Oh, well, I think we got 5 seconds.
Yeah, all right. Yeah, I think Ellen put the second in first. Okay. All right, so now we'll take the vote. All in favor, Chris,
Yes.
Greg. Greg, you were muted.
Yes. Yep,
Okay.
sorry. Yes.
That's all right. John,
Yes.
Heather,
Yes.
Christine DeStacio,
Yes.
Carlene,
Yes.
Kevin,
Kevin Satane, vote yes.
Ella.
Yes.
Okay, and Mark also votes yes, and unanimous 9-0. Okay, it's 7:38 p.m. We're going into executive session. So Amber, I believe we have to go into a separate room, correct? All right, so there'll be a Zoom link, a button that appears on the Zoom call. Just hit that and we'll transfer into the other room. There we go.
Chris, I'm working on it now, trying to get you back in.
Yeah, something happened. I don't know. I don't know if the storm, I don't know. All of a sudden I just was gone.
Try it now, please. Is it giving you a message to rejoin?
No.
No, okay, let me try something else.
I got it. Thanks.
You're welcome.
All right, guys, while we have a minute, I just want everyone to wish my baby a happy 9th birthday and the
Oh, fabulous.
but at least
Happy birthday.
day.
Happy birthday.
Another Capricorn.
The whole reason I'm on this board is right here.
Hi, Jacob. Happy birthday.
Yeah, my birthday was a
You're
couple of
feeling
days
better.
ago.
Happy birthday, Mark.
All right. Okay, it is now 8:57 p.m. The Norwich Board of Education is out of executive session. No votes were taken in executive session.
I make a motion that the board reauthorize Mark Kulos to coordinate and address issues related to the investigation of personnel complaints and/or related personnel matters on behalf of the board, including the continued engagement of an investigator for those purposes, and to consult with the board's counsel as may be necessary to coordinate and address these issues.
And do I have a second on that?
Krista Stacy, I'll second that motion.
Okay, any discussion? All right, let's have the vote. Greg,
Yes.
Heather,
Yes.
John,
Yes.
Christine DeStacio,
Yes.
Carlene,
Yes.
Chris,
Yes.
Kevin,
Kevin Satane, I vote yes.
Ella,
Yes.
and myself also yes. I think we got everybody. Okay. And any other business before the board? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I make a motion to adjourn this meeting at what time?
Yeah, 8:15.
8:58.
Second that.
Ella,
And
I'll
I agree, no,
second.
second.
Okay, and we'll just do a general all in favor. Aye.
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 Any nays? Hearing none, it is unanimous. Okay,
And thank you everyone for wishing Jacob a happy birthday. He is so excited because, as you know, he wants to be a future little Board of Ed member. So he feels like he just attended his first one.
convince him otherwise.
So, I mean, I guess he was not upset that it happened to fall on his birthday.
This is
Oh,
being
okay.
recorded, so you've just signed him up to be to serve on the board in the future now. Just letting
Oh,
you
you
know.
see, ask Chris.
Get
He
him
asked
now.
Chris a question. He is very insightful.
Oh, he asked me a lot of questions at that one informational meeting about all kinds of things.
Yeah.
He is
Good night,
definitely
everybody.
an
Stay
insightful
safe.
little child.
Good night.
All right, and
Good night.
remember
Everyone be safe.
the pre-K session is tomorrow at Huntington at 6, and there's also a teacher's memorial session 4 to 5 on Thursday.
Thank you. Happy
Thank you.
belated birthday, Mark.
All right, thank you.
Good night,
Good
everyone.
night, all.
Good night,
Good night.
everyone.
Good
Stay
Take care,
safe.
everyone.